Welcome to Private Stories, where people discover who they really are. She didn't shout it. She didn't tremble. She looked at me with those icy blue eyes and said it the way someone recites a line practiced too many times. Don't touch me right now. My hand was suspended in the air inches from her shoulder, close enough to feel the warmth of her skin, far enough to realize it no longer belonged to me. In that suspended second, I understood something that hit harder than the words themselves. It had been 52 days since I had touched my wife. Not even by accident. Not a lazy brush of fingers in the kitchen. Not her knee resting against mine on the couch. Not a half-asleep embrace in the dark. 52 days of absence inside a shared house in Denver. She was wearing the charcoal gray sweater I bought her last winter. Her honey blonde hair was damp, falling over her shoulders in loose waves. There was a scent in the air, sharp and woody. Not mine. I stepped back slowly. Not out of anger. Out of something worse. The sudden realization that I felt like a guest in my own marriage. The beige walls were still there. The crack in the kitchen tile near the stove still visible. The faint stain on the living room carpet from the night I dropped a glass of Cabernet 3 years earlier. But the woman standing in front of me, that wasn't the woman who used to fall asleep with her head in my lap while we watched nature documentaries on slow Sunday afternoons. She turned toward the refrigerator as if nothing had happened. We're out of almond milk. Can you grab some tomorrow? Her tone was casual, domestic, polite, like I was a roommate. Her phone lit up on the marble counter. A soft vibration. A preview banner. Still thinking about this morning. You were unreal. Followed by a red heart. No name. She didn't see me read it. She didn't notice I was still standing there with something breaking silently inside my chest. I walked out without a word. Past the mailbox I painted navy for her birthday. Past the silver SUV she always insisted I park a little farther from the hedge. Past the wind chimes she bought during our trip to Santa Fe. I kept walking until the cold night air burned my lungs. That evening I slept in the guest room. She didn't ask why. The next morning she posted a photo of her coffee on Instagram. Foam shaped like a heart. Caption: New beginnings. I was still in the house, but she had already left. That was the day something shifted inside me. I stopped waiting for her to return to who she used to be, and started watching who she had become. She didn't knock on the guest room door that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling fan spinning in slow circles, listening for footsteps in the hallway, for the soft creak in the floorboard outside the door, for any sign that my absence beside her mattered. There was nothing. At 2:37 a.m., I opened my phone and scrolled through our old messages. Back when her I love you arrived without warning. Back when she used to send photos of sunsets and say they reminded her of my patience. 2 years ago she had written, "You make the world softer." Now everything about her felt sharp, precise, clinical, like I was an object on a table being examined under bright white light. The next morning she was humming in the kitchen. A cheerful pop song drifting down the hallway. I sat on the edge of the bed in the guest room and listened. Then her phone vibrated. Once, twice, 3 times. 4, 5. She answered on the third ring, her voice low, and then she laughed. Not the warm laugh she used to share with me over bad romantic comedies. This one was lighter, careless, almost intimate. That was the moment it stopped being about jealousy. It became about truth. I did not confront her. I began to observe. I saved screenshots. I photographed her screen when notifications appeared. I synced the shared calendar to my tablet late at night. Not for court. Not for friends. For myself. Because gaslighting is quiet. And I needed proof that I was not losing my mind. The following Friday she mentioned an art workshop downtown in Chicago. 3-hour watercolor class. She said it while applying lipstick in the hallway mirror. A deep red shade she had not worn for me in months. I offered to drive her. She smiled too sweetly. No need, babe, you would hate it. Babe. The word felt foreign on her lips. I waited 20 minutes after she left. then took my car and followed from a distance, through traffic lights, through side streets, until she pulled into the private parking lot of the White Alder Boutique Hotel. She stepped out. No art supplies, no canvas, no tote bag filled with brushes. Just a small crimson boutique bag I recognized from a store she once called Too Flashy. A man in a tailored charcoal jacket opened the door before she could knock. Tall, dark hair, confident posture. Not new, familiar. He greeted her like someone who already knew the shape of her laughter. I did not go inside. I took one photo, just one. Her smiling in a way I had not seen directed at me in years. When she came home later that night, her hair was slightly damp, her perfume heavier than usual. "How was your class?" I asked calmly. Expressive, she replied. "We painted roses." "Funny," I said. "You forgot your brushes." For a fraction of a second her expression faltered. Then she smirked. "You are imagining things again." I put on my jacket and walked out. Not forever. Just far enough for her to feel the air shift. The next afternoon she stood on the porch staring at the driveway, wiping her eyes quickly when a neighbor walked past. She had no idea I had installed a small security camera above the garage weeks earlier. She thought she still controlled the narrative. What she did not realize was that I had stopped playing the role of the forgiving husband. And once I stopped holding everything together, the cracks began to show. I did not explode. I recalibrated. The first thing I canceled was the automatic grocery delivery. Small detail. Invisible at first. By the third day she opened the fridge and frowned. "Did you forget the order?" "Probably," I answered. That night she ate dry cereal. The next shift was quieter. I delayed my replies to her messages. Hours. Sometimes all day. Always polite. Never emotional. "Sorry, busy afternoon." "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Just tired." But I stopped asking her anything. "No, how was your day?" "No, what do you want for dinner?" "No, are you sleeping well?" I became a mirror, reflecting whatever she gave. And when the spotlight moved away from her, she flickered. She wore lipstick to dinner, sat beside me on the couch suggesting documentaries, even proposed a weekend trip to reconnect in Nashville. That was when I knew she felt it. The absence. The emotional scaffolding I used to provide. Then I made the move she never anticipated. I printed the photo. Not digitally shared. Not hidden in a cloud. Printed in matte finish. I placed it inside a blank birthday card. No message. Only the image. A week later she dressed for a coworker baby shower. Soft beige dress. Hair curled. Perfume delicate and expensive. After she left, I slid the envelope into her makeup drawer. Second layer down. Not hidden. Just waiting. That same afternoon I packed a single suitcase. Drove 3 hours north to a small cabin near Madison. I turned off my phone. For 2 days I let silence do what confrontation never could. When I turned it back on, 12 missed calls. 7 messages. "Where are you? Did you go through my things? Please call me." I did not answer. When I returned home, she stood barefoot in the doorway. Eyes red. Face pale. Still beautiful. Still composed. "Why would you leave that photo like that?" she asked. I hung up my coat. "You always said you hated surprises." She followed me into the kitchen. "How long have you known? Did you follow me? Are you going to tell people?" "There is nothing to tell," I said quietly. "You already lived it." That night she cooked dinner. Chicken marsala. Candles. Cloth napkins. Her hands trembled as she lit the flame. Halfway through the meal she whispered, "You have known for a while. Since the first time you said you were exhausted but came home with freshly washed hair and a silent phone." She flinched. "I thought I could control it," she murmured. She could not even name it. Affair. Betrayal. Infidelity. "I never wanted this to become war," she said later, sitting on the closet floor staring at old letters I had written. "When did you stop believing I mattered?" I asked. "That is not fair." "Is it not? Why did you give yourself to someone else like I was a tenant sharing a mortgage?" "Because I wanted to feel wanted," she whispered. That answer did not shatter me. Clarified everything. The next morning, I contacted a leasing office across town. 1 bedroom, corner unit, no shared walls. I wired the deposit under my middle name. That afternoon, I packed essentials. Left the wedding photo hanging untouched. On her pillow, I placed an envelope. Inside, a printed screenshot of a bank transfer. Half of our savings down to the cent. Underneath it, one line. This is what fairness looks like. I left without slamming the door. Without music. Without drama. And as I drove away, I did not feel like I was losing a home. I felt like I was finally stepping into one. The apartment in Portland smelled like fresh paint and nothing else. No shared memories baked into the walls. No echoes of arguments. No perfume that did not belong to me. The first 48 hours were silent. No calls. No dramatic apologies. No carefully worded regret. Just space. Peace felt unfamiliar. Like stepping out of a wreck and realizing your body is still intact while your mind is catching up. On the third night, she finally reacted. Not with a call. With a post. A photo of her barefoot in the backyard. Wind lifting her honey blonde hair just enough to look cinematic. Caption. Still standing. 12 likes. 1 comment from a private account. You always were. The profile picture was him. The charcoal jacket. The same posture from the hotel doorway. She left the comment there. Visible. Unapologetic. That told me everything. She thought this was a competition. A performance. She mistook my silence for weakness. What she did not know was that I had already moved the rest of my half of the money to a new account and transferred a portion to my sister Claire, the one my wife used to call dramatic. Claire had been watching quietly for years. I gave her access to the archived hard drive, screenshots, recovered emails, GPS logs, the photo from the boutique hotel. 2 nights later, my phone buzzed at 2:11 a.m. What did you do? No greeting. No name. I smiled. I had done nothing. But Claire had. An anonymous post appeared on a popular relationship forum. Detailed. Precise. About discovering a sister-in-law affair while she still played the victim. No names. No direct accusations. Just dates. Locations. Patterns. The art class. The hotel. The man who wore a blazer in June. By morning, strangers were connecting dots. Someone matched a reflection in one of her social media photos to a specific suite at the White Alder Boutique Hotel. By noon, her social media accounts were gone. Erased. She called me that afternoon. You said you would not go nuclear. I did not. She did that herself. I just stopped protecting you. Silence. Then anger. Do you know what I have lost in a week? Attention, I replied. Her breath caught. She tried another angle. You act like you never made mistakes. What did I do wrong? I asked calmly. Did I love you too quietly? Did I fail to argue loudly enough? Did I make peace feel boring? No answer. She exhaled slowly. I want counseling, she said, to understand what went wrong. I already understand. Some people do not cheat because they are unhappy. They cheat because stability feels like emptiness to them. You did not love me wrong, she whispered. You loved me in a way I could not return. That was the most honest sentence she had spoken in 3 years. I ended the call gently. Please do not come here again. There is nothing left to repair. But she came anyway. She stood outside my apartment door for 14 minutes. Security camera recording silently. She did not knock loudly. Did not cry. She simply stood there. For the first time in our marriage. She was on the outside. And she felt it. The fallout spread faster than either of us expected. Co-workers began to look at her differently. Mutual friends stopped liking her photos. Even her Pilates instructor messaged me privately. I should have said something months ago. That part stung. Not because I needed validation, but because it confirmed that others had seen her drift away from me long before I admitted it. Betrayal is loud, but the silence of witnesses can be louder. 3 days later, she called again. You think this makes you strong. No, I think it makes me honest. She laughed bitterly. I am not with him anymore, as if removing him erased the fracture. I replied, I was not destroyed because of who you slept with. I was destroyed because you watched me unravel and stayed quiet. She did not text that night. The next morning she posted an old photo of us at a lake in Montana. I was holding a fish I did not catch. She was laughing in the background. Caption: There are things I cannot fix, but I will never forget the quiet way he held everything together. 200 likes, including his. Nostalgia without accountability is manipulation in softer colors. A week later, I received a certified letter. One sentence. I did not expect to break you. I thought you were unshakable. That was when I finally understood. It had been a test. She wanted to see how far I would bend. But I did not bend. I disappeared. Soon after, another envelope arrived. Divorce papers. Signed with her maiden name. Not Mrs. Anything. Just who she had been before me. I signed without hesitation. Mailed them without a return address. 6 months passed. She moved to another state. Started seeing someone quietly this time. No posts. No performances. As for me, something subtle changed. I began painting again. Bad landscapes. Overdramatic sunsets. Crooked trees. But they were mine. I made friends who asked what is next instead of what happened. One of them was a brunette named Molly. Soft brown eyes. Ink smudges on her fingers from running a small bookstore near my apartment. When I told her about the divorce, she studied me carefully and said, You do not look broken. You look rebuilt. That word stayed with me. Rebuilt. Last weekend I returned to that lake in Montana. Same dock. Same wind. But this time I held a small canvas I painted the night before. A man standing at the edge of water. Not waiting. Just existing. I left it on a bench with a note on the back. Who you used to be is not a prison. You can walk out whenever you are ready. I did not need her apology. Or her regret. Closure is not something someone hands you. It is something you build when you finally stop asking to be loved. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Visit our channel for interesting and intriguing stories.